I know you're looking at the title of this video. You're probably thinking that it's clickbait. If I were you, I would have thought the same as well. But trust me in this one. I don't mean to really sound like a god or like someone that's above other people. But when I observe my school environment, or like when I observe my friends, when I observe just people around me, I see that they do work with a sense of coping and using music or some other external factor to motivate them to do something. And that is where they're like more extrinsically motivated on getting the result in terms of instead of being intrinsically motivated. And that is what I think a lot of people make a mistake on. It's where a lot of people sacrifice their happiness the most. That's where I'd like to talk about something. That's where I'd like to talk about the experience of flow. The knowledge that I learned from myself and have learned through some podcasts online or some YouTube videos maybe, is that we are happiest in a state of flow. So what is flow? The state of flow is a state of intense concentration and intense passion where you're intrinsically motivated to do the task at hand, and there are not any distractions, and you become one with the task. I'd like to say you become the task, and you don't think about anything else except for the task. And that is specifically how the flow state makes us the most happy. Since we are becoming one with the task, there's nothing to think about other than those thoughts about the task. And this leaves us with a stress-free environment where all of us are happiest. When you think about life and death is literally the demise. Like, you think of it as like a really, really bad thing. Some of us accept it, some of us don't. But during death, there is also death of stress. And so in our last few moments, we are the happiest, because there is no stress. Unless you regret something, there is no stress that piles on you, and you just think about the good times. And that is why we are happiest, because there's nothing to think about, there's nothing to annoy you, there's nothing to nag at you, and there's nothing in your brain that constantly telling you need to do it, or you need to get away, you shouldn't pursue this, you shouldn't do that. None of that. It's just pure emptiness. And it's the same with flow. The state of flow is a state of intense concentration and intense passion where you're intrinsically motivated to do the task at hand, and there are not any distractions, and you become one with the task. I'd like to say you become the task, and you don't think about anything else except for the task. And that is specifically how the flow state makes us the most happy. Since we are becoming one with the task, there's nothing to think about other than those thoughts about the task. And this leaves us with a stress-free environment where all of us are happiest. When you think about life and death is literally the demise. Like, you think of it as like a really, really bad thing. Some of us accept it, some of us don't. But during death, there is also death of stress. And so in our last few moments, we are the happiest, because there is no stress unless you regret something. There is no stress that piles on you, and you just think about the good times. And that is why we are happiest, because there's nothing to think about, there's nothing to annoy you, there's nothing to nag at you, and there's nothing in your brain that constantly telling you you need to do it, or you need to get away, you shouldn't pursue this, you should do that. None of that. It's just pure emptiness. And it's the same with flow. You might have experienced it as well. I'm sure you've had those times where you're doing some schoolwork or something kind of important to you, something that you're intrinsically motivated to. Maybe it could be sports, maybe it could be some art, some form of art, some dance. And you're so indulged in the task that you have no perception of time. You have no idea and perception of time, and you have no idea of how the time has passed and what you've been doing. You feel like hours have gone by because you've done that much of work, but it's only been like 40-50 minutes. It could also be the other way around. Like you say, it feels like a couple of minutes because you're so indulged in one. It's the other way around. I'm sure you've experienced it as well. Recall a time where you've been so indulged in the task at hand. Maybe it's your leisure activity, or your favorite sport, basketball, or some dance, some art form that you really enjoy, and then you realize, you have no perception of time, you have no perception of yourself, and you're just one with the task. You become the task. You're like the task with a brain of its own. You are thinking for the task. This is where we're most happy. You are thinking not for yourself, but you're in the present moment thinking about the task at hand. That is flow. And for me personally, I achieve flow through making YouTube videos, sometimes through recording and editing, but mostly by scripting and scripting videos. I get that sense of flow, and I'm happy that it feels like only like 10 minutes, 20 minutes have passed. I look at the time and it's like all of the tasks at hand are done, but it felt like 20 minutes. And then you look at the time, like an hour and a half has passed. You feel you have no perception of time itself. You have no perception. I have no perception on time when I record videos and when I script videos. It is my flow state activity. And so these tasks where you submerge yourself into this state of flow. I'm sure you've seen that graph somewhere where there's like a challenge level on the y-axis, and on the x-axis there is the skill level, and then flow is here where the challenge level is high and so is the skill level. So it's allowing you to get into that state, because not only are your skills high, but the goals you are trying to achieve are hard. They're hard. They have to be hard, but they're achievable. They're attainable. Say for example, you want to script 3 videos in a 2-hour session of flow. You know it's hard. You know it's hard, but you know it's attainable. There are a couple of components I'd like to talk about here. One of the components I've already talked about, which is the goals needing to be attainable. I've also talked about the lost perception of time. I've also talked about the intrinsic motivation to do this activity. And the extrinsic reward, it might matter a little bit to you, but the pleasure you get intrinsically is much more. than it would be when you get those rewards, those extrinsic rewards. Another one is a high level of concentration. Whenever you're in a state of flow, you'll recognize that you are extremely concentrated at the task at hand. Then there is a balance between the skill level and the challenge level. I just talked about this, meaning that the challenge you set for yourself according to your skill level is attainable but difficult, so that you can get into that state of flow. And the way we get into this in our daily lives is simply doing those activities that make you happy, that intrinsically give you a sense of pleasure. For me, this activity of recording and scripting YouTube videos gives me pleasure intrinsically. I'm not hugely reliant on the extrinsic reward, and that doesn't decide if I would make more videos or not. It wouldn't decide how much effort I put into videos and how much I wouldn't put into videos, depending if my videos are doing good or bad. It wouldn't matter. Then we have other things like going to the gym. Sometimes we go to the gym for the extrinsic reward of getting bigger biceps and looking good. I enjoy the act of weightlifting. It's fun to me. I find some passion behind it. Like, it's not as deep as this, and I admit there have been many times where I'm not in a state of flow in the gym, but those times where I do get into a state of flow, then I realize how passionate I am about going to the gym, how passionate I am about eating well to get that protein, to build the muscle and all that. And these activities that are intrinsically motivating, intrinsically rewarding, that is specifically what you should be doing on a daily basis. You need to cut out everything else. For me, that is one and a half hours of working on YouTube, then going to the gym for an hour or 45 minutes, depending on what I'm gonna do. Then I come back and read. Reading, although it doesn't fully make me go into that state of flow, but I get a lot of concentration, and then it's fun. It's intrinsically motivating to read, and that's why I read as well. And then meditation and gratitude journaling. Meditation is like similar to flow in the sense that you will have to avoid the distractions such as your phone and everything. But I don't find intrinsic motivation in meditation. I just do it for the sake of being in the present. And it could be bad that I'm doing this. It may make me unhappy, but I think I'm willing to sacrifice myself. That's a little side rant, by the way. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is a way we can become instantly happier is understanding how to use flow in our daily lives. And that understanding of how to use flow in itself will allow you to understand what you're really passionate about, and it can help you in finding your purpose. Because if you figure out something that you're intrinsically motivated to doing, it will obviously give you that sense of fulfillment. So why wouldn't you do more of it? It is your purpose. You're purposeful about it. You want to do it. So it can help you in that sense as well. I think flow is a very powerful technique that everyone should be using in their daily life to make themselves instantly happier. Even mentally, like people who have terrible mental health can use flow to become happier. Can you believe that? It's a powerful tool that you should learn how to harness. It's a lot like meditation. When we start the work initially, we won't get into flow. But slowly and surely, ignoring distractions, we'll get into a state of flow. And ignoring those distractions, we'll slowly do work, and then we'll get out of it. We'll realize when we're getting out of flow. And then it's just happiness, it's fulfillment. You feel happy while doing those activities. They're not dragging, it is effortless. That's how powerful flow is. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.